Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the June 20th, 2024 meeting of the Trumbull Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Task Force. My name is Jonathan Trop, and I'm pleased to call the meeting to order I'm a little sorry to call the meeting to order at 7:37, but I'm pleased to call the meeting to order and welcome everybody in attendance. Why don't you all, if you would, join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
of the
States of
United States of
America,
America,
to the
to the
republic
republic
which
which
stands
stands
one
one
nation
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty and
liberty and
justice for
justice
all.
for all.
Thank you. In terms of roll call, Joanne, you can see, but obviously I'm here. David Rosenberg, Rick Bolton, Rodney Gray, and Tara Figueroa. Absent are Jennifer Pacelli, Chris Powell, and Shala Fleming. We are pleased to be joined by Jennifer Winchell as the town council liaison, as well as yourself and Bill Chin. And I hope that Jim Cordone will join us late. Uh, so I wanted to take note that today is June 20th. And so we are gathering in the heart of Pride Month and one day after the federal Juneteenth holiday. Juneteenth commemorates the emancipation of enslaved African Americans in the United States. On June 19th, 1865, Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, announcing the end of slavery 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. This day, yesterday, celebrates freedom, resilience, and the ongoing pursuit of equality. Let us recognize Juneteenth by honoring the contributions of Black Americans to our community and reaffirming our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Similarly, Pride Month celebrates the LGBTQ plus community's resilience, diversity, and contributions throughout history. It originated to honor the Stonewall Uprising in June 1969, a pivotal moment in the fight for LGBTQ plus rights. This month serves as a reminder of the ongoing struggle for equality and acceptance faced by LGBTQ plus individuals worldwide. As we observe Pride Month, let us affirm our commitment to creating an inclusive community where everyone, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity, can live authentically and without fear of discrimination. In connection with both of these holidays and the mission of our task force, I would add that by embracing diversity and promoting understanding, we strive to build a society that values and respects all its members. Today, let us reflect on our shared history, acknowledge the challenges ahead, and commit to work together towards a future where all individuals are valued and treated with dignity. If anybody wants to add any remarks in connection with either Juneteenth or Pride Month, I'm happy to provide a floor to do that. Joanne?
Could you just send me a copy of what you just read for the
Certainly.
minute? Easier. Thank you.
All right. Moving on to correspondence, we actually had some this month.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, if you bear with me, I can describe it. So we received an email which was forwarded to all of you from the edit mailbox the other day that came in from a fellow by the name of Dennis Neal with the organization rehab.com. That organization works with schools and communities to support drug addiction, I suppose technically to oppose it, and provide support to those suffering with addiction-based illness. They wrote to advise us that they had recently developed an LGBTQ addiction support resource designed specifically to call out to these communities and to provide inclusive, welcoming support. They asked if we'd be open, is the way they phrased it, to adding that resource to our Get Help Now crisis hotline page as an additional support guide. And of course, the link that they provide is to the support page of the town of Trumbull. I don't know that I have the ability to closely vet and understand the utility of the resource, but it seems to me that it makes sense to share it with the administration and let them make a decision whether to include it on the town webpage. I wanted to see if others had any further thoughts about that correspondence or any different path forward with respect to it, or any comments on it. Jennifer.
I don't know that I exactly understood what you said. Their website is directly linked to the town's website, or is...
No, I'm sorry, I wasn't clear. Their email asks us to post their resource on our website. And when they say our website, the link that they provide is to the town's website. So it's not an edit website. It's the town's webpage. And so they're reaching out to edit.
They have their own site that they want posted.
They have a
the
particular yes, website they want the town to link to, is the bottom line. Tara?
Yeah.
Thank you. I did review the resources that they've linked, and while I'm sure that it is a wonderful organization doing important work, particularly with regards to addiction, I'm a little, I don't know that this would be the right resource for the town to basically promote. It's just very commercially focused, the website. So just, you know, with my marketing hat on, this seems to me as an opportunity that they're seeking for lead generation. And so I'd be very careful about that. If they link directly to a handbook or a manual, I would totally, you know, be behind that. But because this is like a, hey, get help now, call a 1-800, I almost feel like people in our town are better off with the 211. You may have seen some of the You Matter Now lawn signs that are across the town. That's something that's more local, that, you know, there are a number of resources available to our community. I think it's worth exploring, though, what resources we could actually offer. There's a great guidebook that the Triangle Community Center in Norwalk offers for at-risk LGBTQ plus people. So there are some resources actually that we could think about if we were to go down the path of forwarding something. I think I'm a bit apprehensive looking at the resource that is provided to us by prehab.com. Just feels a bit too salesy.
Fair enough. And I certainly wasn't prejudging whether it belongs on the website. My only question is whether we would share the email with the town. Do others have I don't know if anyone had a chance to look at it. Does anyone else have a view that they wanted to share? Okay. I don't know that any decision needs to be made at this moment. Why don't folks, if you have a chance to take a look at the email, which was only circulated yesterday, and we can revisit, put it on our agenda for a further discussion if it makes sense, and if not. With that, I guess that completes the report on correspondence. Bill, would you invite any member of the public who might wish to make public comment at this time to do so?
Mr. Chairman, there are no members of the public in attendance at this time.
All right, that was easy. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the approval of minutes of last month's meeting, May 16th, 2024. Is there a motion?
I move to approve last meeting's minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I can second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right. We were all in attendance except David, so everybody gets a vote except David, who I'm sure will abstain. All in favor?
Aye.
So that's a 4 in favor and 1 abstention. Thank you. Motion carries. And I'll move on to old business. I understand that there was a group of 2 or 3 people who were pursuing the diversity training initiative, and Shala was one of them, but was unable to attend. I think maybe Rick and Rodney were the others, and one or the other of you might have some wisdom to share. I'll turn it over to you guys.
Do you want to take it, Rodney? I think you spent more time on this than I have. I was at the conference call we had, but I think you know this a little more in depth than I do.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just to go back to the beginning is I got the resource from Chief Mike Lombardo in terms of Lorenzo's background and his profession on bias training. And I sat down with him and got an overview on what he does, but it does seem to be that it's heavily focused on police, but he definitely can build a curriculum, and he is definitely trained with his professional team, where we could build a curriculum for the department heads of the town, if that's the direction we want to go, or if we want to do it as a committee. It's just more what we want to do and how long we want it to be. So as you recall from the last meeting, I sent over, I believe, like a 1 sheet, gave an overview of what he does, and also provided the cost of the training. And then we just, Shala, like you said, Shala, Rick and myself, we met with Lorenzo about 45 minutes. And I thought he gave a really good presentation, another overview on what he does as a profession when it comes to the training. But I'm not here to, I'm going to make it clear, I'm not here trying to push this is the direction we need to go. It was, again, recommended from the chief. And I wanted Rick and Shala to hear firsthand what they thought. And Shala will more than likely, I guess, give her feedback in the next meeting. And but I think it went over well, and it was very clear and informative. And if Rick wants to follow up behind that and just give his insight, that would be great.
I certainly don't feel anything different than what you just heard from Rodney. He's clearly qualified to do, this sort of training, and I would concur that, his experience is, I'd say, mostly focusing with, police and police matters. I like the fact that he, knows that the first thing you have to do is engage with the client and listen to their needs, and develop the curriculum from there. So this is not a vendor that we would be going to because he has already in the can, exactly what we or, the town thinks they need. The process would need to begin with a needs analysis, and he seems to be experienced and equipped to sit down with key stakeholders within the community. And would have every reason to believe that he would, listen well and do a proper needs analysis to identify what, if anything, does the town have an appetite do for training.
Okay. So my memory, which is now at least a month old, is that was it a $1,200 charge, Rodney? But I'm not entirely sure I understand what that means in this context, and maybe my memory is wrong. Rick's shaking his head. Do we have any sense of?
I don't remember us talking about a specific dollar value for anything. But Rodney, you may know something that I don't on that one.
Rodney, you're on mute.
Yeah, I see it. Well, in the paperwork, I think it was 1,200. But again, going back to what Rick said, which is really important, is really trying to find the appetite and stomach of what our council and what our first selectmen feels that is necessary and what they think they could provide financially and when that dollar is determined, then we can start building out the curriculum and seeing what can fit for our needs and going from there. And this is when, what's the gentleman's name that we've been waiting for the past few weeks or month that I saw your email earlier, Jonathan.
Thomas McCarthy.
Yeah, so that's where he comes in as well. And then once we get the understanding of what can be allocated, then we would go to Lorenzo and say, this is what we have and what can be built.
Tara?
Thank you. You're not totally off, Jonathan. We did discuss at our last meeting just to get a better understanding, because this is sort of a chicken and egg paradigm that we're stuck in, right? Like, in order to get approval, or at least to move the conversation forward with the town, we need to provide some sort of estimate. But the town is all, but then it's sort of like this loop of trying to get to a number so that we can carry conversations forward. I don't think in the previous conversations that we've had, like, a specific budget has actually been allocated, or there's a certain target amount that folks are willing to already put on the table for the training. It's more so like, well, let us know, what the cost will be, and we'll see if we can approve it. So I think in this case, as I remember it from our last meeting, we had left it with understanding what the range would be. Certainly there was a dollar amount that was attached to the initial proposal, but that proposal wasn't necessarily customized or tailored to our specific needs of what we're, approaching Dr. Boyd about. So it would be worth, I do think, a follow-up at least to understand what the range would be, right? Like, what would be for an absolute basic, bare bones, 2-hour training, for example, and we're talking about, 15, with different groupings, and maybe have a few options of what the different costs could be associated, a low end versus, all the bells and whistles. I do think we need to get to some sort of estimate to be able to take forward, whether that conversation sits with Mr. McCarthy or with any of the other leaders within our town.
Yeah, chicken and egg is a good metaphor. Maybe trying to cut the Gordian knot would be another one. It seems to me that the problem we have is that if Dr. Boyd is not coming to us with a defined proposal, here's what I would recommend a town like yours should do, and here's what I will charge to do it, but is instead saying to us, what would you like as a town? Then we're not yet figuring out how to move forward. And if the town is trying to get a sense of what would be offered and what it will cost, then he's not helping us to advance that ball. I think that what may make the most sense, just as I'm trying to digest the information, is seeing if we can set up a meeting that includes Tom McCarthy and Dr. Boyd. And if the two of them with one or more of us can come to an understanding of what the town would like and what Dr. Boyd would supply and what it would cost, and that the town would like to move forward with that at that cost, then we will have progress. But if we're waiting for one to get in front of the other or get out of the way of the other, whatever the right metaphor, then we're not moving forward. So that's my thinking, is that we need to get Tom McCarthy and Lorenzo Boyd together in some fashion. Do others have a different view, either Tara, based upon your efforts to reach out to Mr. McCarthy, or anybody else who's been talking with Dr. Boyd or people of his profession?
I do have a thought just regarding what you're suggesting, which I do think ultimately is the right next step. It's just an open question in terms of recalling our initial, I don't know if it was the initial one, a previous conversation with Mr. McCarthy about what a training program could look like. And he very much so was looking for us to provide guidance in terms of what this DEI, unconscious bias training could look like. And so at that point, there should be in our emails a few descriptions. I believe David and I had gone through several similar trainings that were offered. I still think that Tom McCarthy wouldn't necessarily be able to, I think that's where the expertise of our committee lies, is to define what should an unconscious bias training be. And I think we have some great examples to draw from, and we should basically be conveying that to Dr. Boyd. So we're looking, these are public facing employees. We're looking for an entry level unconscious bias training. Tom McCarthy said that he thinks it would be smart to start with the department heads before rolling it out. I recall that very distinctly. So that's, 15 to 20 individuals for the first go before, rolling it out to the broader base of employees. So with that, I do think there's still an additional step for us to take with the next one being, yes, let's connect Tom, but I don't think it would be wise for us to just put them in a room and say, hey, hash it out in terms of setting up this training, because I do think we still have to make a recommendation in terms of what we think a good training would be to start with for department heads.
Okay. So I emailed Mr. McCarthy earlier today. I was slow on the draw to do that, but because Tara had asked me to do it at least a week ago. But it happened today, late, and maybe not entirely surprisingly, I have not heard back from him. But I will be cautiously optimistic that I will hear back from Mr. McCarthy, if not by tomorrow, then by early next week. And we can try to set up a meeting, as I said, and as I think Tara agrees, a discussion of some kind among Mr. McCarthy, Dr. Boyd, and at least one or two members of our committee to have a discussion about how to end the do-si-do and actually start to make some progress. Any further discussion on this one? Okay.
I do have a final flag for you, Jonathan and team. So in the email and the correspondence from Tom McCarthy that I forwarded along, I just want to make sure that everyone is aware that he did reach out regarding an interest for the counseling center. So the senior director of the counseling center in town is specifically looking to do DEI training. And so this would be a little bit different, I guess, than the department head one, but just wanted to flag that there is that additional ask on the table that isn't necessarily town-wide. But in his note, he does suggest, like, maybe that's a good place to start since the senior director is already looking to set this up for the counseling center.
Fair enough. Thank you. So the next item on our agenda is an update with respect to invitations to the departments to attend edit meetings. Our next meeting is July, and we had discussed having Rena Bacalard join us for what I hope will be an engaging and interesting discussion. Rodney, you were going to reach out, I think, to Rena and ask her to confirm that she's going to join us. Did you have a chance to do that?
I did. Rena's calendar, she will be available to join us in September.
I'm sorry, when?
September.
Oh, I thought she was going to come to July. She's not able to come to July, or?
Nope, her calendar is booked. She's vacation. August is out. She won't be able to attend until September.
Okay. All right. So we'll look forward to having her join us in September and figure something else out for July. Chris Powell, who's not able to be with us tonight, he reached out to Parks and Rec by email a couple of times. He's not yet heard back. I think he, like I, will be cautiously optimistic that he will in fact receive a return email. We'll see what happens. If he doesn't, then we'll look for another way to connect with Parks and Rec. And I took it on my plate to reach out to Dr. Semmel to invite the superintendent of schools and others that he might like to bring to a future meeting, and I confess I did not do that, so that remains on my plate. I don't think there was anybody else that we said we were going to reach out to, so it looks like Ms. Bacalar will be September, Parks and Rec to be determined, and school systems to be determined. Any further discussion on that? Questions, concerns, thoughts, worries, fears? Okay. I don't think there's anything to talk about with respect to the Trumbull Times right now. When we get a little closer to the book club in I think it's the end of September, we should seek to publicize that event. Period. We do also have lined up now for next May to do the celebration of Asian Pacific American Heritage Month with the library, thanks to Jennifer Winchell, and so again, nothing to do with respect to publicity for that now, but as we get closer, we should seek to publicize that. I think that brings us to new business. There are no, I'm not aware of any items of new business that ought to come before us, which might make this a relatively short meeting, but if anybody has anything that we should discuss, here's your chance. Okay. So that brings us to the last item on the agenda, which is to hope everybody stays well and cool. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn if anyone wants to make one.
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, David. That one gets no discussion, so we'll take the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that one carries unanimously. Thank you,
Everyone-
everybody, for joining us. It was nice to see two of you got to enjoy the summer outside while Rick sweltered in. Stay cool,